The future just made history. I'm not 100% sure what that means, but I guess I do. I guess I understand because she is the future, and she did just make history. 25 years old, 8 months and 24 days. Don was crunching the numbers this morning and said that only 39 players have 2 major championships or 13 or more LPGA Tour victories. Nancy Lopez, who won 5 in a row in 1978. Annika won 5 in a row in 2005. Nancy writes, congratulations, Nelly. Tons of exclamation points. Fun watching you today. You are a great and humble champion. Keep it up. As to what she is doing, her place of history. The future makes history. Consecutive victories on the LPGA Tour. There you see it. Nancy did it, 78. When Annika did it, it was the 24-25 seasons. That's why I said 25. Nelly Korda's is current. 52nd player in tour history to earn at least 2 major championship titles. 9th player in tour history to win the Chevron Championship and the KPMG Women's PGA Championship. She's the youngest American to win her 2nd major since Julie Inkster did it, ready? Wait for it, 40 years ago. She's the first American in 25 years to win 5 or more times on the LPGA season since Inkster did it in 1999. That's not consecutive there, note. That's 5 or more times in an LPGA Tour season. Now, as to the LPGA Hall of Fame point total, she now has 16 points. The threshold for entry is 27. And I know people hear that and they get confused and like, what? They're 2 different Halls of Fame. Like, to me, Nelly Korda's already earned her way into the World Golf Hall of Fame. 100%. Lock, stock, barrel, done. Gold medal, multiple majors. She already has 13 wins in the LPGA. Done. Fastest player to reach $2 million in a single season earnings in tour history. That stat we put up there because it is a fact for today, but it's kind of a joke fact because you look at what great champions have done, and you compare that to the way purses change over the years, and it doesn't have much. In other words, there's not a lot of historic reference I can give you on that other than to look back and go, they used to pay them what? That little? What Nelly did on the golf course was so impressive. This was on 17. Coming down the stretch, all the nerves, everything, hold it together, and she does this. Watch. Nearly a hole-in-one at the par 3 17th. When victory was secured, Nelly Korda, the question, everyone asks the question, right? Because remember, it's no longer in Palm Springs, Poppy's rabbit ears in the air pond. It's not a pond, it's a pool. Pond is good for you, though. And so the question comes down to, will she or won't she? And Nelly Korda, did she jump into the pond? Just keep letting that roll, Andrew. I think that was great form. That's the rest of her entourage in there. We're watching it live yesterday. Donna said something about, like, well, that's pretty good form. I said, Nelly Korda grew up in Florida. She's used to doing cannonballs. As you could see from the tweet from the LPGA, I thought the form was really good. But the will she, won't she? Because that's no traditional Poppy's pond there. That's just a pond. Remember, Dom, last year when we learned that they had like nets up there to keep the gators and keep the snakes out? How do you keep a snake out with a net? Question. I don't want to interrupt you, Dom, because I can see you're eating there.
I am eating, yeah.
Cheese crackers, it looks like to me.
No, it's peanut protein bar.
Oh, it's one of those health bars.
It's a health bar, yes. I'm very healthy.
So, do you remember when we were going through that last year, and when Lilia Vu jumped in there, there was a big green like splash, What, Andrew? What are you putting up?
He found old pictures.
That's from last year, right? When there was like remnants of shipwrecks and pond monsters and things. I don't know. I'm sure there's a big logistical reason why, but why not just make a pool out of that, like they did with Poppy's Pond? Just kind of carve out that one section there and, pool it. The pond is good for many, though. Yeah, that's it. There you go. There's the shot of it right there. So she paid it off with a jump in the pond. Absolutely incredible what Nelly Korda is doing. 5 consecutive wins. And on tomorrow's show, Scheffler's hitting his second shot into the par 4 16th, 140 yards away as we speak. On tomorrow's show, we're going to be joined by a member of the World Golf Hall of Fame to give us some perspective into what's happening right now in the game. Scheffler left is way short, by the way. It's cold out there this morning. Temperatures are someplace in the 50s. He has a 4-shot lead. Now he's only got finish up on 16. He's got a long putt for birdie coming up that looked to me like it was a good 30, 35 feet. Cantlay finishes at 15 under. He's done. He's shaking hands. So this is happening as we speak right now. So getting a perspective from a World Golf Hall of Famer that's been there, done that is going to be huge, and that's coming up on tomorrow's show. And tomorrow's show, we'll also have a veteran campaigner from the PGA Tour that has won on the PGA Tour and is not reticent about speaking his mind, which is always interesting to get some insight into these what otherwise are turbulent times from such a player. We are going to have, we've had fun with this, giving you voices from the different side of the game, especially with my background, my bias, if you please, of equipment manufacturing. We've been having the CEOs on from these equipment manufacturing companies to give us their perspectives. And the perspective we're about to give you this week is pretty unique. I would say completely unique against that same standard. You're talking about fighting through the mud and the rice paddies and the blood and the destruction, physical and emotional, of seeing heavy action on the front lines of Vietnam, and now being an executive of one of the top equipment manufacturing companies in the industry. Colin Morikawa's on the tee at the par 3 17th. And he is on 13 under par currently. Hit a nice shot in there, kind of released for him. So I'll continue to keep you up to date on how things are going on this playoff. You can find it at PGAtour.com. You can find it on Golf Channel right now. So with what Nelly Korda is doing, I mean, I'm trying to put it into a historic perspective with what we're seeing, not only from her, in fairness, but from Scottie Scheffler too. Right? And so I was saying to Dom before we went on the air, I would think the closest comparison we could make would be 2005. Why? Because in 2005, that's when Annika concluded her 5 consecutive starts win. And during that time, you had Tiger, which it's interesting, of course, when you follow Tiger's career, because they go through waves of heightened proficiency, winning. And this was his second wave. And so, Dom, in 2005 with Tiger, we're not talking about him winning necessarily 5 in a row, but we're not talking about with Scottie either. If Scottie wins this week, it'll be his second win in a row. It just so happens it will be during an incredible stretch, which we'll get into when we talk about Scottie here in a second. But take us through, Dom, when you opened up what Tiger did in 2005 with winning the Masters, winning the Open, remember that shot in your life, all of it that goes with Tiger Woods. Just give us a glimpse.
Yeah, he didn't win 5 in a row by any means, but it's not like he was playing poorly. So from April when he won the Masters, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In a 10-event stretch, a lot of what we've been talking about with Scottie Scheffler. In fact, Andrew, can you put Scottie Scheffler's last 11 events up? I think we have a graphic for that. Now, technically speaking, Scottie Scheffler has not won yet today. He will. His birdie putt, it was just away there at the 16th. He came up just a little bit short. He'll
About 2
tap that
feet.
in for a par. He just has a couple holes left, and he's going to win.
It says with a win, he'd be the first
can't
player to win 4 times in a 5-start stretch since 2007, 2008. First player to win the Masters in the RBC Heritage since 1985, and would represent its 10th career win. That's the graphic that just went up from CBS.
So if you're looking on our screen there, you'll see a win question mark, right? He'd win again. So that's obviously 4 and 5. Then there you see his last 11 starts. Now, what you're looking at there is not too dissimilar from what I'm about to read from Tiger. And you're looking for a comparison. I know you were talking about that graphic saying 2007, 2008, but we're trying to find historical perspective between when someone on the LPGA was as dominant as Nelly is. Right?
Don, what are you talking about,
And
2007,
someone on the
2008?
PGA Tour.
I didn't say anything about 2007,
Well, someone on the
2008.
PGA Tour.
Oh, you're talking about the
Yeah, you know what
CBS
you just
graphic.
said?
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm saying that's not as interesting or valuable because we're trying to provide context
Yes.
as to when there was absolute rock solid dominance
on both tours.
at
That's
the
what I'm
same
getting
time.
at. Yeah,
And
both a
historically,
female
the
dominating
only
star
other
and a male.
time- Historically, the only other time really is 2005, and this is what Tiger was doing. He won the Masters. He finished 11th at Wachovia, missed the cut. 3rd at Memorial, runner-up at the U.S. Open, runner-up at the Western Open, won the Open, runner-up at the Buick Open, 4th at the PGA, and then he won the WGC event. Now, he won a few more events after that, but that's a 10-event stretch where he had like three wins and 3 runner-ups.
Yeah.
So he was winner or runner-up in 6 of 10 events in a row. And, we just showed the graphic from Scheffler. Scheffler was, if I'm being honest, probably doing a little bit better than Tiger if you look at the totality of that. But that's probably the closest thing we have. The only other question I would have, Matt, is, and now we're testing the limits of my strength on history with golf, which are not very elastic. When Byron Nelson was winning, because he won, I think it was 11 in a row, but didn't he also have a stretch where he won like 8 in a row?
He won that year, 1945. He won 11 in a row, but wait for it. Ready? He won 18 times that season.
Well,
Let
what
that
I'm
settle
asking
in.
is,
Well, hold on a second. I want to pay this off because you're
Okay.
asking about Byron Nelson, and I've got something else historically I want to jump to quickly before we forget this. We don't have to go back as far as the end of the Second World War, because the criticism from people would be like, well, you're talking about the Second World War and depleted fields, et cetera, et cetera. Remember, he was doing that, and when he did that, Ben Hogan and Sam Steed were back from the Second World War amongst. But the thing I want to ask you about, Don, because you went down this road, are you ready for it? Because you took us to 2005. Remember, with Nelly, with what she's done, we're talking about 5 consecutive wins so far. With her, it's a so far, but the other 2, it's where they ended, 5 consecutive wins. Nancy Lopez in 1978, and then Annika Sorenstam in 2005, right? Jump to 1978. Dom, maybe your sense where I'm starting to go now. 1978. Nancy wins 5 in a row and 8 total in her rookie season. Can you believe this? Right? Here's what I want you to do, Dom. Open up 1978 for Jack Nicklaus. Tell me what Jack Nicklaus did in 1978 in terms of major seasons, total wins. Where did some of those wins come, perhaps in consecutive times? Because I'm always fascinated about the world of sport, where we have these bridges to absolutely incredible things that happen, and in time somehow makes those bridges for us. We just talked about it from 2005 and how there are similarities in the bridge of dominance between what Tiger Woods did and what Annika did with what we're seeing from what Nelly is doing and what Scottie Scheffler is attempting to do.
not quite there. 4 wins and 2 runner-ups.
Scheffler made par, by the way. Hold on one second. Scheffler made par at 16. He just hit his tee shot into the par 3 17th. It's about 20 feet short of the hole. Go ahead, Don.
That's not terribly entertaining. I got to be honest. There's 3 holes left. He's got a 30-shot lead.
He's
There's really
got
nothing to talk
a
about there.
4-shot lead. Yeah. Well, look at.
Okay.
I always ask you guys a question: do you want a dominant player? Do you want a dominant player? Everybody comes back by majority and says, "Yes, we want a dominant player." But then when you have a win that a player has a multiple shot win, especially when it's a cleanup win like this on a Monday morning, but they have a multiple shot win, and people go, "Oh, it's boring." Well, that's a dominating player. Dominating players do that. All right, 1978,
Well,
Jack Nicklaus.
I think it's a different. This is a different question for a different day, but
Okay.
with the dominance, there has to be an element of, I'm not sure what the right terminology would be, excitability. The player has to have an it factor for it to connect the way Tiger did, the way Spieth did in 2015. And I'm not sure that Scheffler or Nelly has that. Obviously, within the game of golf, they do, but outside the game of golf,
I kind of feel like Nelly has
I don't
more
know
of
if
it
they do.
than I feel like Nelly has more of it than Scottie. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I'm just, again, I think there's two kinds of it factors, right? There's an it factor for the golf fans like us, right? And all these players that are winning consecutive events, they're going to have an it factor, and we understand that and why. But that secondary it factor, the transcendent part, where they connect with regular people who don't follow golf, that's rare. And there's just not a lot of players in history that had that. Anyway, to 1978.
Jack Nicklaus, 1978.
Jack had 4 wins and 2 runner-ups that whole season. So I don't think it's necessarily a comparison. However, he had a nice stretch at the beginning of the year from February to April. Runner-up, win, 7th place. Pretty
7th place would have been the Masters, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's the closest thing that I can see.
So 4 wins in a season in a major.
I don't think that's the same.
And we're
that's not the
ho-humming.
same as 2005. It doesn't.
But what I'm saying is 4 wins in a season, including a major championships, and we're ho-humming it.
We're not ho-humming it. You're talking about all. You're talking about all-time history ever. When have we ever seen anything specifically like what is happening right now? And the answer is 2005. And more specifically, the answer is probably never. Because Scheffler is probably winning at a higher percentage right now than Tiger was in 2005. And both Nelly and Scheffler are doing it at the exact same time.
True. That is really where I was going today.
So both of those things are happening simultaneously. So I think you can make a very strong argument that the answer is this has never happened. Ever.
Yeah.
And that's incredible.
That's kind of where I was going, to be honest with you.
It doesn't seem like either of them are slowing down. I mean, once Scottie's wife has a baby,
won the Masters last
that might
week.
screw things up a little bit.
Yeah.
That might screw things up. I'll take a break.
Did you just slip in a let's take a break at the end of that thing?
No, I said he'll take a break after
I thought you were like trying to do like a subliminal thing.
He's going to win 6 and 7 and 8. He's going to win like 5, 6, 7 tournaments in an 8-tournament stretch. And he's like, I got to go. I just had my first kid. Everyone's going to be like, but what about 10 in a row?
Well, remember, it's consecutive starts. It's consecutive starts. So if he takes a break, plays with the new baby, and comes back and wins. I mean, he just won last week. I heard him say in an interview, he didn't show up till Tuesday, played 9 holes to get ready. And they were like, aren't you exhausted? Well, I tried to get as much rest as I could. What? When? You came back, you literally went to like a bar in the neighborhood and sent out pictures of you in the green jacket. Which was kind of cool. That the fact that he did that kind of adds a little it factor. Geez, he just hit a great putt at 17. He just missed it. He's murmuring. That is a good question, though. The idea of what we're seeing is absolutely historic in proportion. Right? Is it inspiring you? Right, I saw a little give and take this morning on social media, X. I'm getting used to calling it X. And it was Ian Poulter, and he was going after Doug Ferguson from the Associated Press because Doug Ferguson said something about Scottie Scheffler. I don't know if it was consecutive weeks at number one. I don't know if it was a number one ranked player doing things that you would expect of a number one ranked player, whatever it was. And then Doug did this kind of funny thing. It wasn't like Doug to me because he's a really solid, pretty much down the middle journalist. And he wrote something about like, well, no Taylor Gooch, but. And so Ian goes after him and says, Doug, come on. You know better than that. He said, full credit. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Full credit to Scottie Scheffler. He is clearly the number one player in the world right now, right? But to use the rankings as a way of making a statement relative to the field, to other players, or what have you, you can't do that now because the rankings don't include everybody. There's an asterisk on rankings. Notwithstanding the fact, by evidence by what Scottie's doing, I don't think there's anyone to argue that right now he's the hottest player in the world. I do wonder, and I do think that if he made par, by the way, so he remains at 20 under, and he has a 4-shot lead going into the last. I do wonder if Rahm was still on the PGA Tour, if they were going head-to-head, if something different would have happened. Not that Scottie's not playing great. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's a smoke and mirrors. I'm just saying I think that Jon Rahm plays his best when he has a chip, and he would have had multiple opportunities to go after him instead of just the picture that we got at Augusta. And as I've said to you guys a number of times, I think it's tough to judge too much from Augusta this year because of the weather that we got the first 2 rounds. You know, to make any definitive statements about how somebody is playing or not playing or whatever comparisons that came out of it. Some of that I thought was kind of crazy, comparing one tour to another and all the rest. I think everyone needs to pump the brakes on that. Let's have more opportunity when people are playing against each other. And we do have Nelly coming up. I want you guys to hear from her. I think what she's doing is amazing. But I am curious about something that Dom kind of touched on, and we talked about a little bit. Dominance is dominance. History is history, and they're significant, and they mean something, but are you invested in it? Do you care? Unless the individual somehow sparks interest in you. Right? I think that's natural. That's who we are, what we are. You know all those shows that used to be on, like they would call them reality shows, Survivor, and they all basically had some kind of element of survival. Big Brother. There are other ones out there. The crazy ones my wife likes to watch. Bachelor Island or something like that. What's that one called? Bachelor in Paradise. Right? You're shaking your head, Andrew. Do you like it or no? Andrew's denying it. I think he protests too much. But what I'm getting at with that is, and you guys already saw my photo. I have the 2 TVs. Throw that up there again, Andrew. I have the 2 TVs, so Donna can watch whatever she wants because that one above the fireplace is for me. So I've always got something on there that I want to watch. So she's watching the other shows, and I said to her, I really can't get into these shows unless I feel vested with one of the, I'll call them characters, but you know what I mean, one of the people that are on the show. By the way, Scheffler hit a beautiful shot at 18. I'm sure that's a shock to everybody. A news bulletin on this Monday. Well, you never know. Dom, you never know. We'll let it play itself out. What do you got? Just another log in a fight? You know where I'm going with that whole thing with the we call it an it factor, but how do we know that we're not particular or unusual with what we invest ourselves in? And maybe other people love the way, another athlete could. I'm sure there's huge groups of people that are fans of Scottie Scheffler. What I'm just trying to wonder is he a personality that can thrust the game of golf up onto his shoulders and everybody buys in? You know what I'm talking about? At the Masters,
yeah, I do.
I bumped into some neighbors of my wife, and this was a woman that was almost 80 years old, and her sisters both of whom are older than her. And they bumped into us, and, obviously they knew that I was covering the Masters, and the oldest sister says to me, "How's Tiger doing?" That's what I'm talking about. Right? How's Tiger doing? So will you have people of all age groups, from teenagers all the way up, or younger, all the way up to people in their 80s or beyond, that are going to say, "How's Scottie doing?" If that defines what I'm talking about. Not sure. What do you got, Dom? You got more historic reference for us? Oh.
Sorry. My mic wasn't on. That's my bad.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
talking on and off there. You know what I was doing is I was telling Andrew to take the question marks off, because we built all these graphics for Scottie Scheffler.
That wasn't on the air when you said that?
His 10th win, question mark? Is this when he win?
Oh, I didn't know that wasn't on the air, Andrew. He said maybe we should take the question mark off. Go ahead, take it off live. There it is. He hasn't won it yet, folks. He just hit his drive on 18.
No,
but when Dom said that, I'm laughing like a madman because I thought it was on the air. What's that?
No. So the question was, what did you watch this weekend? Because we were talking about all the stuff that was going on. There's a lot going on. And we've got some people coming in. They're watching all kinds of stuff. I watched in part all three of the events. Bob says, I watched hockey and golf. And for the golf, I watched the PGA and LPGA. Derek says, I watched mostly the LPGA, but also a little bit of the RBC, which is interesting, right? And then there's some people on here who didn't know the Heritage was still happening. They're like, I thought that was over. Scheffler won? It's like, yeah, he did win, but they haven't finished playing. They got to actually
finish playing. He
didn't
win
yet,
Dom. You stop saying that.
Steve says,
he won.
He won. Come on. What are we talking about here? So Steve said, I watched Punta Cana, which we're going to get into later. Billy Horschel won the alternative event. I don't know what they call it, alternate event. I'm not sure what they're calling it now. But he won the other PGA Tour event, which was his, I think it was his 8th PGA Tour win.
It is his 8th,
Matt, which is pretty cool.
It is cool.
And then, people are now getting into the it factor. Also, Scheffler is uninteresting, they say. Not saying it's bad, but he's just uninteresting. Tiger is and was the gold standard for those things. And there's folks mentioning things like tennis, saying that Federer and Sampras weren't necessarily players that had the it factor, but they sort of eventually got it. Over so many years of winning, they became the it factor.
I never thought Sampras
when Roger Federer came out, he did not have it, but he just became winning so consistently, it sort of developed into an it factor.
Right.
Which is interesting.
I think Sampras had respect, but I don't think he ever developed the it factor. Federer did. With the whole fashion stuff he did and the watches and all that.
Ironically, who had the it factor, in my opinion, in that time period was Andre Agassi. He had more of an it factor than Federer 100%. And Sampras.
Until he lost his hair.
Because of all of his persona off of the tennis court, right?
Yeah.
I think who you are and your personality when you're not playing whatever it is that you're playing plays an impact on that. Anyway,
yes.
I'm getting off base. I found another historical perspective.
Dom, you realize we're a talk show. You can't get off base. Wherever we go, we go.
We can get off base. We are not on track here. The first segment was supposed to be Nelly Korda won 5 times in a row. Isn't this historically amazing? Here are some graphics from Nelly. Here are some press sound from Nelly talking about how great she is. Now we're talking about it factor. I'm about to tell you about Mickey Wright. So we're not on base here. So in 1960 and 1961,
you're going
Mickey
Arnold
Wright,
Palmer on us.
Essentially,
go on. Good. Yeah. Yep.
Mickey Wright is basically the best women's player who ever lived. In 1960, she won 6 times, including a major. In 1961, she won 10 times, including 3 majors. Okay? In 1960, Arnold Palmer won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, including 2 majors. In 1961, Arnold Palmer won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times and a major. So I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but I would lean towards right now that stretch being more impressive than 2005 with Tiger and Annika.
Oh,
So right now we're talking about Mickey Wright and Arnold Palmer in 1960, 1961.
Wow. That is saying something. Oh, by the way, Scotty
What do you mean?
airmailed the green.
Did you not hear what I just read? Do I need to read that again?
Blah, blah, blah,
10 times in
yada,
three
yada.
majors in 1 year?
Scotty just airmailed the green at 18, by the way. He's up against
Oh, my God. He's got a quadruple bogey.
He might get relief there, but if he sculls it across the green and
four
then
times and then hits it in the
sculls
crowd,
it across
maybe
the
he'll
green
go to a playoff.
and then has multiple penalty strokes in that, that area there, that kind of Surfside area by 18 at Harbor Town. It's happened.
What would happen if he got a text from Meredith on the green?
What would the text be? I know what you're thinking.
I'm in labor. Come now.
I'm in labor. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Would
hold
it
on,
become
hold
home?
on. I got to make this putt. Let me just make this putt. Just one putt.
Pick up ice cream on the way? Yeah, would that be seen as like something really rude, like a regular person would do, like if they get that text from their spouse, come home for whatever reason? All I have to do is get up and down at 18, and I'll be right home. Be a great story, though.
I know he said he would leave immediately, but I got to believe if they're walking up 18 right now to the green, if his phone, which is probably in his caddy's bag, has a text saying, I'm going into labor, I got to believe. I mean, he's got to walk past the green to get to his car anyway. You might as well just put it in and win the tournament.
Yeah, just
might as well finish.
Blade it up there and two putt, and you still win by multiple strokes. Now, if they have a daughter, does he name the daughter Augusta or Azalea?
Hold on a second.
Or Green
I feel
Jacket?
like you poo-pooed my analogy in the 60s here.
No, I didn't poo-poo your analogy, but the fact that you had to go to 2005, right, when Annika won 5 straight, and where Tiger wins multiple majors, right, in a stretch that was unbelievable, and now all of a sudden, if you want to have this discussion, then you have to take into account depth of field and a lot of things that give historic relevance and not just numbers.
Yeah, but Arnold Palmer was, I don't know about this. I mean, I don't know about this. I feel like this argument could get real messed up real quick here. If you're talking about depth of field and all this garbage, I don't.
Look, what I'm saying is you're misunderstanding where I'm coming from.
Depth of field in 2005 on the LPGA Tour when Annika was dominating is nowhere even remotely close to where it is now.
What are you talking about? It was great in 2000. Dom. I'm not saying that 1960 and 1961 were not incredibly impressive. This was when Arnold Palmer, while sitting on a plane next to journalist Bob Drum, originally from Pittsburgh, conceived the concept of the modern Grand Slam. He was going for the modern Grand Slam. That's why he went over to the Open. Now, the Open was a shell of what it is today, to be fair. But he went over anyway, and in 1960, he lost to Kel Nagel. And if you do your history on what happened at that 1960 Open, which happened to be at the Old Course, then you find out that Arnold Palmer has a pretty good argument for the way that one was handled because of when the weather came in was not really fair with the way he started and the wipeout around, okay? So what I'm saying to you is what Mickey Wright did and what Arnold Palmer did are mythical, absolutely mythical, and those years are incredible, and I love it. Where I kind of reared back when you threw a haymaker from behind and we're like, go to break, was when I was like, whoa. To take that and say that it trumps 2005, I'm not so sure about that. And if you notice, I don't really do a lot of that. I don't really declare that one year beat another year. That's why I was saying 1978 was really impressive. Jack Nicklaus winning multiple times in a major, 4 times in a major. Nancy Lopez wins 8 times. Okay, is that less impressive than what's going on right now? No. So anyway, it's that's the reason why you kind of threw me off there when you declared that it was better than 2005. I'm not sure that it is.
I don't know if I declared it was better.
It was definitive. You pounded your fist. Your food was flying out of your mouth.
I'm trying to find comparisons to what's happening right now because I think the argument we're trying to make is this is literally what's happening today is unprecedented. And I'm
That I
not sure
agree
that
with.
we have found I'm not sure that we have found anything that's comparable. I think
Scottie didn't skull it
truly
into
is
the
unprecedented.
swampy area, by the way.
Oh, he's going to win. Andrew, where are we stand on those question marks? They've been deleted? Go ahead, Andrew. Put it in there. That's it. We're calling
he's
it.
already declared.
He won the
can't
RBC
do that
Heritage.
before he signs his card. Meredith could go into
There
labor
it is.
right now.
Look, 10th win. It's on the sheet. It's over. That's it. 10th win. And we also updated, by the way, his top 10 finishes and his top 5 finishes. At 27, he's like 120-something starts into his career. He now has 39 top 5 finishes, Scottie Scheffler does. He's turning into a bit of a machine, if I'm being honest. I mean, the gap that he has in the FedEx Cup standings and the world number 1 is becoming sizable.
He's drawing me in. I'll tell you that. We talk about the it factor. I am really interested now. Next time he tees it up, can he? Next time Nelly tees it up, can she?